Crystal Tower information, Whiskey 2153 Zulu, wind 060 at 5.
076 Mike Juliet, this is departure radar contact.
Hazardous weather information from Minnesota available on flight service frequency.
You've dialed in the Flying Midwest podcast, connecting aviators from across America's heartland, sharing news, information, and events from around the region.
Calling Nancy 53 on over tower, roger, turn left heading 070, runway 9er, clear for takeoff.
Sit back, relax, and join our crew for some hangar talk as we discuss a wide variety of regional aviation topics.
Archer 71143, flying 5, runway 28 left, quick takeoff, left hand southbound first.
And now, from our home at the Anoka County Blaine Airport, our checklist is complete, and we're ready for departure for another episode of the Flying Midwest podcast.
Contact departure of your flight.
What is going on, everyone? Jim here with the Flying Midwest podcast. So happy you're able to join us. On this episode, we're joined by Brendan Sneegas and Greg Stack with Angel Flight Central. We learn about how this organization makes charitable medical flights possible through their network of volunteer aviators from across the Midwest. And as always, news, information, and events from around the region, with some friendly hangar talk along the way. So strap in and let's take off into this episode of the Flying Midwest podcast.
Hey, Maddie.
Hey, Trevor.
Hey, Jim.
Trevor, Maddie, how are you guys doing?
Swimmingly.
Good.
Swimmingly.
I love that word.
Well, great. Welcome, everyone, to the Flying Midwest podcast.
We love that you've taken some time out of your precious day to listen to three bozos talk about planes.
Hey, Maddie, how's the flying been?
It's really bumpy here. Like really bumpy in the afternoons, and that's the only time I've been able to fly. It's like crazy. Hey,
Okay,
Trevor,
Jim,
how did your day go today?
No, I got to sit in the engineer's seat for a real flight for the first time, and everybody, I'm actually kind of disappointed. Everybody promised me it was going to be a helmet fire.
What?
A helmet fire?
Yeah.
That's a new one for me.
Could you elaborate?
Like a fire helmet, like you're a firefighter?
No, like your brain
Flames
is
on your
going
helmet?
like you got flames coming out of your helmet from your brain being
Okay.
fried.
Okay.
Oh,
Because this is like day one for flying the actual airplane.
okay.
Like, okay, you flip a switch and things actually happen.
Mm-hmm.
Versus the sim where it's just like simulated it happened. And most people, when they get into the airplane for the very first time, they're like so task saturated with the most remedial things, they nickname that a helmet fire. And I was very disappointed because today was not a helmet fire.
I don't think you should be disappointed by that. I think that you should take it and run.
Oh, I already have. They've already given me a nickname.
Oh boy.
OSI.
OSI. Okay. What is?
Office of Special Investigations.
Why did you get that nickname?
Because apparently it was not a helmet fire. That I did not tell them that I have aviation experience, like a lot of aviation experience. And when my instructor looked at me funny, like, you didn't eat anything for breakfast? You're not drinking anything? Oh, you're gonna be puking. Because we're like 300 feet off the deck. We're contouring the mountains and going up one side, going down the other, and this and that. And I didn't get airsick. I don't normally get airsick. And he thought I was. And so he was like, oh, okay, this is going to be what the first day is going to be like. And I take the seat and it's like, it's an orchestra.
Good.
How does
So-
that make you OSI? I don't get it.
The
They think you're
entire conversation
like you're a
is
plant and you're secretly auditing the course or something, or what?
The reason why they call me OSI is because I did so well on my first flight that there's no way that that's my first time in a C-130 flight.
Fascinating.
Special Agent Trevor,
Yes.
we appreciate you joining the podcast.
Trevor. That is really funny.
I'm a funny guy.
Hey, Jim, did you fly at all this week?
I did, but very briefly. The windows I had didn't work as well as I wanted them to. We had some low clouds that one day, so we were going to do some work in the pattern just to knock some stuff out. So I was working on some commercial stuff with my power off 180s, and
How'd you do?
I need to work on those.
More.
I will admit that. It's just I felt pretty good with them when I did it in my private pilot training because my instructor made me do those regularly during the private pilot phase. And I just haven't done them in a while. So just getting used to what that feels like again has been a bit of a challenge, but just keep going back up. I'll figure it out.
Yeah. The Power Off 180 is one of the most dynamic maneuvers that you can do in all of training. Aside from just regular landings, which are dynamic all the time, Power Off 180 takes a lot of different factors and smashes them together. Whereas like for say lazy eights, you do pretty much the same thing every time. Like, yeah, you're correcting and things, but generally you're doing the same thing every time. But the Power Off 180 is pretty special in that you have to account for all kinds of wind factors, your plane, and
Your current energy state.
yeah, you have to, it's a lot of energy management. So it's not surprising that it is one of the most difficult maneuvers to master.
Hey guys, so I saw something on the old Weber cider.
The Weber cider?
Yeah,
Good
some
Lord.
weird things on it now. Want to talk to me about it?
Weird things like t-shirts, hats, and mugs.
Okay, I know where we're going with this. Our merch site is live. So if you are interested in any Flying Midwest podcast merchandise, we've got t-shirts, we've got some of those baseball like 3/4 cutoff like long sleeve shirt deals, some hoodies, some other cool
Beaters.
stuff. We don't have
I think you mean 3/4 sleeve.
What did I say? 3/4 zip?
No 3/4 cut off.
3/4, they're cut up. They're we have cut off.
Selling ultimate crop tops now.
We're selling Flying Midwest crop tops. We also have a wide variety of cutoff jean shorts or jorts.
And let's not call it merch. Let's call it memorabilia.
Memorabilia, but the website is flyingmidwest.com/merch.
Which is what it is. None of this stuff is memorable. It's just merchandise.
Not that we've done the last 18 episodes is memorable, so why start now?
Touche.
I think we've lost.
I think we killed Maddie. Oh my God, man, we killed Maddie. You bastards.
Jean shorts sent me. You needed a moment.
Yeah, Flying Midwest jorts. It's gonna be great.
No, I was gonna say that. Now we have to make patches so I can make my Flying Midwest jorts.
Oh God, no. In all seriousness, though, we are really excited to bring our merchandise out to all of you. You guys have been asking for it. We're excited to bring it to you. So be the first of your fellow pilots to be sporting your Flying Midwest podcast merchandise.
It looks really good. We have like the coolest logo ever. So
Yeah, that logo is pretty sweet. So thanks to Trevor for making that part happen. So I got some of the sample merchandise and I think that they did a really good job with it. So
awesome.
Sometimes you use these websites and you're not really sure what you're going to get and it's kind of sketch and but no, the quality was a lot better than I anticipated. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Well, I just did. So
okay.
should we move on to some news, you guys?
Let's move on to some news. We've got some fun stuff. Let's start in Wisconsin. Swiss cheese, Wisconsin. As you may have heard, if you are anywhere on the internet, Air Wisconsin is going to become an official American Eagle carrier. Apparently, they can't get enough of the Nickelback of the skies, and they are bringing 60 CRJ 200s at their new base at Chicago O'Hare International Airport. Hang
on. Did you call them the Nickelback of the skies?
It was in the article. I take no responsibility for it. I am just reporting on the article.
All right, carry on.
But it's true. Nobody really likes them, but they're around, right? Air Wisconsin, again, will initially base up to 40 CRJ 200 aircraft at Chicago O'Hare, which is American's hub. It's a 5-year contract, and it's known as a capacity purchase agreement. But they also may expand in the future at other key hubs. And the agreement also opens the possibility of adding 70-seat CRJ 700s to the Air Wisconsin fleet in the future. People are hoping that the addition of Air Wisconsin to American's fleet will help bring back air service to cities that have since been losing air service, such as Toledo, Ohio, and Dubuque, Iowa. That would be really cool because, as we talked about a couple episodes ago, unfortunately, with the pilot shortage in the airlines, they're having trouble getting pilots to go to smaller cities. And so a lot of airlines are no longer servicing smaller cities in favor of keeping their pilots on the larger routes.
Let's go to Grand Forks, North Dakota. They have a new unmanned aerial industry that has grown exponentially over the past couple of years. Yeah. Grand Forks / East Grand Forks, their Chamber of Commerce announced they'll be formulating a North Dakota UAS leadership committee. They'll convene and they'll talk about unmanned aerial systems and how they can be applied. What it boils down to is research and development. They also have a company based or Grand Forks based company called Eyesight Drone Service. They discuss openings and all that sort of stuff. So they're trying to bring more people and more employees to the industry, trying to expand that industry. Northrop Grumman has, I think, about 150 employees at Grand Sky. It's actually kind of cool to watch the UAS advent really start kicking off in Grand Forks.
Speaking of UAS or drones, K-State, so Kansas State, we're jumping down south a little bit, was just granted $145,000 to study the use of drones after disasters. Kansas State is based out of Manhattan, Kansas. The Federal Aviation Administration announced that this grant would be headed to Kansas State. It is one of several, although this one is the smallest grant. The senator of Kansas said that this grant will be used to study the use of drones in providing effective and efficient responses to different natural and human-made disasters. So a lot of the disasters and things we see in Kansas are tornadoes, earthquakes, and fires. So I assume they're going to definitely be looking at those, especially as we're calming down with storm season a little bit. But this will really help farmers and ranchers across Kansas because most of Kansas is farmland. Getting a better scope of a disaster, so going after like a tornado goes through an area and seeing exactly what needs to be repaired and things will be really, really helpful for all of these people who are working the land in Kansas. It's cool that Kansas State is getting to participate in this particular study. So we'll see what comes of it.
What else you got over at Kansas? And I think you have another news story.
Oh, just a little thing called the Kansas Aviation Museum. So actually here in Wichita, we have what's called the Kansas Aviation Museum. It's located in an old terminal of an airport that actually doesn't exist anymore, but they have a lot of different cool aircraft in there and showcasing Wichita's very rich aviation history. So a new exhibit was just unveiled. It was actually on National Aviation Day, so a few days ago, and it is focusing on highlighting the accomplishment of women in aviation. So this exhibit features women, especially from the Wichita area, including Amelia Earhart, and it dives into their accomplishments in regards to military and paving the way for future female pilots like myself. They cut the ribbon on Friday. If you're interested in going to see this exhibit, which if you're in Kansas, I highly recommend, you can find that on their website, which is kansasaviationmuseum.org.
Since I'm taking care of the Dakotas tonight, Forest Service tests new special balloons in Northwest to monitor large wildfires. So this is actually kind of interesting. Apparently they're using like what we'd commonly refer to as weather balloons to fly up above a forest fire in remote controlled balloons. And they can loiter around fires for a very long time. And they can go ahead and do a lot of research. They'll go up to like 60 or 70,000 feet and are solar powered. They're held aloft via helium. And they can transmit for about 11 days nonstop. And they actually have a little map on the website I'm looking at where they've got up to 40-mile range. Yeah, it's actually kind of cool. It goes to a stratospheric flight path. So they tested this during the Moose Fire with the National Forest Service, but it looks like it's the holy grail for wildland fire safety, giving fire commanders a real-time view of the flames, burning relationships. It's almost as live feed as you can get. Another platform that's under advisement is actually from a California-based Swift engineering company, where it has a winged aircraft that can provide continuous remote sensing from altitudes of 55 to 70,000 feet for up to 30 days at a time versus the 11 days with the balloon. Yeah, it's just all around kind of a cool application for drones.
It's kind of neat to hear how long those things can stay up there.
Yeah.
Hey, Jim.
Yes, Trevor.
Do we have some events to talk about?
I got a number of events to talk about. Let's dive right in. First up, the Cleveland National Airshow featuring the United States Navy Blue Angels. That'll be September 3rd, 4th, and 5th at the Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland, Ohio. An important note on this one, tickets are only available in advance online. There will be no gate sales. You can check that out at clevelandairshow.com. The link will be in the show notes for that one. That same weekend, the Garmin KC Airshow, featuring performers such as the U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds, the Red Bull helicopter, the U.S. Army Golden Knights, and many more. You can check that event out at the New Century Air Center in New Century, Kansas. More information for that air show will be available at kcairshow.org. That following weekend, September 8th through the 10th, you can check out the Midwest LSA Expo. That event takes place at the Mount Vernon Outland Airport in Mount Vernon, Illinois. This sale and demo show is the 14th annual Midwest LSA Expo and is catered towards those interested in light sport aircraft. More information on that event, midwestlsaexpo.com. On September 17th, 2022, 1:30 p.m. at the Albertus Airport, the Northwest Illinois Airshow. Gates for that event open at 10:30 and the show starts at 1:30 p.m. This event will feature performers such as the Phillips 66 team, as well as a number of warbirds on static displays such as a T-28, T-33, and a Stearman. Advanced purchase tickets for this event are $10 online, $15 at the gate, and children 10 and under are free. More information on this event at nwilairshow.com. And our last event is Labor Day weekend at the Prickett Grooms Annual Fly-In in Sydenham, Michigan. I'll be at this event as well as others. This is a fly-in camp-in event, and as we talked about on our last episode, it is that airfield that your flight instructor warned you about with the turf and the short field. So come on out. I hope to see some of you out there. So that'll be it for events. Let's talk about this episode.
So we have a really cool episode for you guys. We're going to talk to a couple guys from Angel Flight Central. Now, for those of you that are not aware, Angel Flight is one of those organizations. It's an all-volunteer force, and they provide transportation to medical appointments and facilities at no charge for those that are receiving the medical treatment.
So we're excited to welcome Angel Flight Central's Executive Director, Brendan Sneegas, and one of their volunteer pilots, Greg Stack, to talk to us about their programs. Now, Greg is a recently retired lieutenant colonel from the United States Air Force with a number of years flying the A-10 Warthogs. So we thank him for his service, as well as both of them for their continuation of service with the Angel Flight Central program. Thank you so much for joining us, you two. We are all about just expanding the knowledge of all the aviation opportunities in the Midwest, sharing those stories with each other, and just growing the aviation community within the Midwest itself. So if through that we can find more pilots that are interested in volunteering and flying for a purpose, as we call it, that's great too. So thank you for coming.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This is great.
So we're going to start you guys off with kind of our fast 5 questions that we ask. And typically how we've done these recently is if we've got 2 guests, you guys are both on the hot seat. So we'll ask for answers from both of you. We will either secretly or not so secretly judge your responses and go from there. So question 1, favorite aviation specific destination?
Okay, since I'm a non-pilot, I just hang out with 300 of them. I'm just going to say AirVenture in Oshkosh.
Good answer. Good answer.
All right, I'd say recently in the last couple of years, I got an opportunity to fly to Sedona, Arizona. Highly, highly recommend it. Awesome airstrip up in the mountains. Really, really cool scenery. One of the coolest places I got to fly into.
Sedona. All right.
And I hear a lot about Bentonville too.
About where?
Bentonville.
Bentonville. Okay. Where's that at?
I will double down on that. Bentonville is awesome.
Yeah. Greatest
I'll get
FBO there.
I'll get a video for you, Jim, because I'm going to fly up there. I got a Gold Star mother I'm going to go visit.
Okay.
Is that in Arkansas?
Uh-huh.
Okay, it sounded right, but I've never been there. I've never thought about the place. So it's
Give it a
not in
try.
the Midwest. That's what I know.
Question 2. best aviation related book, or your favorite aviation related book.
Ooh.
We've done movies before, and that just felt like it was too easy.
Sure, I'll give you one. It's called Bury Us Upside Down. It's about fast facts in Vietnam. It's an incredible story, a little long to explain, but it talks all through some of the how the forward air controllers in Vietnam flew F-105s. It's a very inspiring story, actually.
There's a Minnesota pilot who was a favorite of mine. I think he's second or third on the list of all Angel Flight Central pilots and the number of flights he's flown. His name is Gordy Lewis. He retired at 65 and then got his pilot's license and retired from flying at age 80. But in the meantime, he flew, I'm going to butcher it, but I think well over 300 Angel Flight missions for us.
Wow.
And so there's a book out there in Minneapolis called Gordy.
Gordy. All right. Question 3. Now I'll hit the movies. Favorite aviation movie quote?
Oh my gosh.
I wish somebody would have sent me these ahead of time so I could think about it.
Oh no.
It's supposed to be a pop quiz.
That's the point. It's to get you relaxed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
by asking hard questions that make you really think.
Oh my gosh.
Aviation movie quote.
Favorite.
Okay.
Don't call me Shirley.
There we go. Airplane.
That's a great one.
Yep.
I gotta say that I feel the need for speed. That's always one of my favorites.
Very topical.
It is.
Coming from an Air Force pilot too. I'm sorry.
That's true.
This is where Trevor's not so secretly judging you about your answer.
Hey, you can judge away. That's okay.
All right. The next question I got for you. Any aviation related pet peeves?
Guys that overtalk on the radio, that don't think before they key the mic.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, me too.
And I am that
Finally,
one.
we agree on something.
No, I am that one. So sorry about that, guys.
Now I'm secretly judging you. Well, not
That's fine.
overtly.
That's fine.
Overtly.
Oh my gosh. I can't even think of one. I don't want to insult our pilot population with something that I don't quite understand.
I think we can give you a pass on this one.
All right.
We'll insult your pilot population on your behalf at some point.
Okay.
So, all right. The final question: anyone that you could meet in aviation related, dead or alive, who would it be?
I'd say Amelia with her museum just an hour north of me and here in Kansas City. There's a forest of friendship up there that celebrates her life and times and everyone in the aviation industry. She would be wonderful.
That is an awesome festival up there, by the way. I'd have to throw in Charles Lindbergh. That would be one of my favorites. Growing up on Long Island in New York, and him flying over the ocean, just kind of, I would love to ask that question of what do you think, and all of everything that went into that, his decision to do that. I think that would be incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. That'd be a fun conversation.
And
So-
trying to keep it Minnesota based. I mean, Lindbergh was from Minnesota, so
Okay.
I mean,
We have to take points in Minnesota when we can.
Yeah. Everybody always
Fair
forgets
enough.
about us. But
And have you seen our professional sports teams? We got to do what we got to do.
that's right.
Thanks for playing along for our first 5 questions we have with you. Now we'll get to the real meat and potatoes of the episode and chat with you about Angel Flight Central. Brennan, can you give us a brief overview or even a lengthy overview, for that matter, of what Angel Flight is and how it came about?
Sure. Came about right here in Overland Park, Kansas, which is a suburb of Kansas City, by a gentleman named Jim Stevens, who met an 8-year-old little boy at church who was adopted from a local family. This little guy had some really, really bad heart issues and needed surgical care really quick. So they were able to find a surgeon that would do the surgery. However, the travel from Kansas City to Cleveland wasn't in the family's budget. And Jim thought, I've got a plane downtown. I can take this guy. And so he loaded the family up and took him to Cleveland. And on his way back, he thought there has to be dozens and dozens and dozens of children and adults in our community who are in this position, who could utilize the help of pilots with huge hearts. So he came back and put the word out, just attempting to find pilot friends to join his cause. Once they got all established and ready to go, they had a small pilot team. They just carried a notebook home with them and made calls to passengers and pilots. The organization became official in 1995. So we are in our 27th year of service, 33,000 total flights to people in need. What started with Jim as a single pilot is now about 350 pilots across a 10-state region. We are truly Midwest, so Kansas and Missouri are as furthest south as we go, as furthest east as Indiana. Then we cover the whole Canadian border and then straight down the Dakotas and Nebraska border. So a staff of 4 of us are in the downtown Kansas City airport, and we're basically taking calls from people in need all day long, screening them. Currently, right now, we have 200 flights that we're currently screening passengers through, 33 flights that they've been screened and we're waiting on pilots for. And then once we have the passengers screened and they meet all of our qualifications and they understand the environment they're going to be in, then we share those needs with our volunteer pilots like Greg, and he can take a look at them, take a look at the time and date and total weight, the distance, and check his schedule and see if it's something that would match what his purpose is. And so just as an example, the last 2 months, June and July, we put together 645 flights. Wow. And are doing 2,000 to 3,000 a year. It's just an absolute joy. About 70% of our passengers are adults, surprisingly. And then 30% are kids. About 90% of our flights are for medical purposes. The remaining 10% are disaster and recovery, and we assist with delivering breast milk to rural hospitals there in Minnesota, and blood plasma to processing centers, and some children's camp flights in the summertime. And so that 10% is more humanitarian things that we can do where 2 runways could basically solve a problem. So Greg is a part. I could talk about all the stuff behind the scenes. It's great that he's here because he can talk about the passion of these pilots who are giving their talent and their finances and everything to make these connections actually happen. They're the heroes in all of it.
Being a part of an NGO within the general aviation and corporate aviation realm, it's one of the most wholesome, one of the best experiences I've ever had. So, you know, when you get into disaster response, I mean, when you're talking disaster response, you're talking my cup of tea right there. Being able to help people. You know, when I was first a private pilot, I was trying to figure out how could I build time, and I wanted to give back. And for, you know, a low time pilot, the quickest thing I could do was, you know, doing pilots and pause or something to that effect. Yeah. You know, now when I get to if I ever get back into an airplane again, I'm going to be joining your ranks. You know, that's going to be one of the cool things is, you know, if you get an opportunity, and this is for all the listeners out there that, you know, maybe they're private pilots or maybe they're student pilots, get into something like this where we can give back to the community, because pilots are looking for that mission.
That's right. Perfectly stated.
I hope once I own an aircraft, hopefully someday, obviously it's a little hard with being a CFI with student loans, but someday I would love to be a part of an organization like that. I too want to give back in a, you know, more tangible way.
That leads me to my next question. Greg, how did you get involved with Angel Flight?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, and I'm glad you guys mentioned Pilots for Pause as well. That was I bought my own airplane 2 years ago, right after I finished up doing a squadron command job in the Air Force. I knew I was going to get ready to retire, and I wanted to get back into general aviation. I bought my own airplane a couple of years ago, and right away I wanted to find something that my wife and I love flying, and I wanted to justify, you know, flying my airplane. My wife's a big into animals. She's an animal lover. And I said, what's something that I can do that I love to fly and she loves animals that we can do together? And we kind of started off doing the Pilots for Pause. Right after a few missions of that, I realized that was something I really wanted to take a step further. And I kind of went back to some family history that I had personally. back in 2015, my 2-year-old niece was diagnosed with a rare hepatoblastoma liver cancer, and she battled with it for a year. And then right after her 3-year-old birthday, she passed away. I've been displaced from my family through the military for the last 20 years. We've never really been able to be in the same place. So the previous couple of years to move into Missouri, I was out in Korea while a lot of this was going on with my family. And my sister got deeply involved in nonprofits and doing a lot of research and things. And I wanted to find a way that me and my wife and my family could give back to the pediatric cancer, that whole environment, and just figure out a way that we can do that, being displaced from them. And this was the perfect way that I found that we could do that. So I did a little research on volunteer organizations, and this was the best opportunity that came up in the Midwest region. So I just jumped into it, and immediately got involved in the Angel Flight. Now I've been involved about a year or so, and I'm going on the 8th mission that I've had the privilege of flying with folks all over the Midwest region. And then just recently I was able to do a camp flight, which was super cool. That was a member who had a medical condition, and then his 2 siblings going to camp from Kansas City up to Minnesota. So it's just been absolutely incredible. I was able to bring my wife on a couple opportunities because she's the socialite. She's the one that makes everybody feel loved, cared, and opened up to everybody. And I tell you that every passenger that we've flown has now become like personal friends, and we keep up with them on social media, what they're doing, their treatment, everything. Invited them to our home, all kinds of things like that. So it has just been this huge kind of outreach, additional network of people that we love to be able to help, but have now also become friends and things like that. So that was really why I did it, because of the love for flying and the ability to get involved and offer something back to that pediatric cancer side of the house. And again, we've already kind of talked, it's not just pediatrics right now. It's the majority of them are older folks as well that need assistance and all of those things. And I've got the opportunity to do both of those in the last 12 months, which has been great.
That's really wonderful.
And probably the biggest reward when you do something for somebody that and they know that there's no way in God's green earth would they be able to repay you. And that's where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right. And the best part about it, I mean, obviously, we all do it. We volunteer because there is no expectation for any sort of payback, right? I've had people ask and talk like, "Oh, you're getting paid back for this, right? Or you guys are getting compensated for this, right?" And I just I kind of stop the conversation and I don't really get into it because they don't need to know, and it's irrelevant, right? That's kind of the most important thing, is that they're getting taken care of. We love doing it. And that's all that really matters,
For sure.
Yeah,
Greg and his volunteer pilots, the last year alone, just to make what we did last year happen, they donated collectively $2.3 million amongst themselves to make the mission happen last year.
That is incredible.
That's really something.
How do the people that need your services find you? And like what qualifications you talked about, that there's 200 flights and screening. What kind of things are you guys looking for when you're selecting people to be recipients of flights?
Well, the outreach part is our biggest nemesis, and the pandemic didn't help us at all, because everybody we had relationships with either left or is so disheveled within the total medical community that we're just in the back of people's mind. But being such a small staff over the years, we don't have the manpower to get out there and shake hands and look at social workers and doctors and oncologists and social service organizations in the eye. Zoom is going to help a lot with this next several years, now that we've discovered this technology. But outreach and awareness is just been really, really difficult for us. But we rely mainly on word of mouth and families telling other families. And if you're sitting in a room with 27 people in Rochester, Minnesota, getting chemo, then of course everyone's going to talk amongst themselves. And so encourage our passengers to spread the word amongst each other. We send flyers and emails out to social workers and doctors and as many hospitals as we can. We have a nice little group of ground volunteers that try to be our eyes and ears within their own community and spread the word a little bit. But could it be better? Absolutely, it sure could. I have to do a little shout out for Southwest Airlines because they realized how difficult this was. And so for the next year, they gave us 35 anytime you could use e-passes for any outreach purpose. So if outreach opportunities to meet at a hospital or meet a group of hospitals or whatever, Southwest Airlines is helping us get there and back, which was really nice of them to help us with the bottom line and outreach. Once the passenger does reach us, the key, there's really 3 to 4 really key elements. Understanding general aviation and the types of planes that we utilize, they have to be mobile. And so our friends in wheelchairs and stretchers aren't terribly a good fit, especially when you have to climb up the slanted surface of a wing. Or crawl in the front seat and then crawl to the back seat and then sit upright for the entire time. So mobility is key. The second is timing. We have to respect pilots' schedules. And so people like Greg, we can't put a need on him for the next day because he has to be able to clear his schedule and rent the aircraft or talk to the club about aircraft utilization. So we ask our passengers to give us a good 7 or so business days. At the same time, too, there's a medical release we like to fax to the treating physician for every passenger we fly at least annually. So that 7 days gives us time to contact the passenger's physician, describing the aviation experience the passenger is going to go through. So we're not reversing any treatment or putting the passenger in any harm. And with that doctor's signature, it clears pilots like Greg so he can relax and know that they've been signed off by their physician and they're going to be okay in the air. Then third, we've got the weight and balance and there's families of 4 that want to travel. And, that's tough when a lot of the planes are 4 to 6 seat in size and you have an entire family that wants to go to for a surgery of a child or something. And we understand that, but we try to teach them that, the less passengers you have, the bigger the chance of this flight being accepted by a volunteer. And then distance is another big thing. We do not want to fly at night or in the dark. We want the pilots to be able to do their section of their leg and get back to work or get back home in a reasonable amount of time. So we concentrate our flights anywhere between 100 and 900 nautical miles. And then we divvy up each flight by 300 miles. So every pilot is only flying a 300-mile leg. So passengers who call us and need to get out to LA or Phoenix, longer distances, the furthest East Coast, free leg plus flights, as you guys know, it's not comfortable in general aviation aircraft, especially if you just got chemo or you had surgery or it's just not a pleasant place to be for more than 900 nautical miles. And that's pushing it with weather conditions and things. So we're working with the passengers through each of these things, trying to get them to understand what they're going to be experiencing, letting them know that we don't have missions. We're not going to force our pilots to fly through something that they don't want to. If they don't feel good the day of or having some sort of mechanical, then we teach every single one of our passengers who call to describe to us what their backup plan is so we can describe and pilots like Greg don't feel that pressure to say, you know what, today probably wouldn't be a great day. They put that back on us and we with pride call that family and let them know a reschedule needs to happen or I remember your backup plan, so let's jump in that train or that bus or jump in the car and head that way, so our pilots don't feel pressured to complete a mission. So that's what we're doing back in the office. Once our volunteer pilot accepts the flight, then the first leg pilot is in charge, and they do the communicating between the additional pilots and with the passengers, trying to find an adequate airport closest to the passenger's front door, and they route the flight and they're in charge from there on out. So it's a pretty slick system if all of those characteristics and all those stars align.
That's really great.
That's probably one of the coolest things too, is you get Air Care Alliance, ACA.
Yeah.
So ACA, they got a lot of corporate, they got a lot of GA and all that sort of stuff. So you do have a huge opportunity to reach out and find other missions that might fit, that might not be an AFC mission.
That's correct.
So we talked about the qualifications that you need to have in order to go on an Angel flight as a passenger, but what about your pilots? What are the requirements that you have? How do you select your pilots?
The main things that we're looking for here in the Midwest is 500 hours PIC, unless you have your commercial. And if you have your commercial, it's 250. And then there are some insurance requirements per seat that we require. And currency. There's a few currency requirements. You don't have to own the aircraft. You just have to be insured. And so we have lots of club pilots. I had a little cute couple in Central Missouri that had a change jar. And every time they came home every day, they just put change in the jar. And as soon as they got to their $175 where they could rent their plane, they did it and flew an Angel flight. So rental is certainly a possibility. The only thing we haven't ever jumped into, and I think it's the majority now across the country, is we do shy away from experimentals just because of the vision of it all. I think Angel Flight West will allow experimentals. I believe if you're flying cargo flights, you can check on that. But and then from there on out, the flight requirements is basically fly a flight every 2 years is our currency that we look for, just to make sure that the pilots who do sign up for us are active. And of course, because of the financial obligation that comes along with flying someone, there's some pilots who can only afford one flight in 2 years. Others will fly every 2 weeks, and we have everybody in between. Greg is an exception with 8 to 10 flights that Greg has in the last year, a couple months is exceptional. So basically, our system will guide every interested pilot straight through the system. If you just go to angelflightcentral.org, there's an application and it'll guide you through every qualification, through every document that we ask you for, and it keeps track of everything you send us. And then we as staff can monitor as you are applying or uploading documents to us. We do have a 1-hour orientation video that we send right when everything is done. We ask you to watch that, and the system also keeps track of that little part, just teaching you how to deal with our flight coordination database and how to file a mission report, what to expect with our pilots, what the staff can do to assist you throughout the entire process, how to choose your airports, all that stuff is in the orientation video. And once we see that you've watched that, then we're going to ask you for a badge photo, and we will send you your lanyard and badge. We'll give you access to the system so you can see all available flights. At the completion of every one of your flights, the system is going to ask you for your Hobbs time, your total miles, and the system will keep track of not only the make and model that you're flying, but also all of those statistics that you're putting in at the end of your flight, so you can take the flight report to your accountant and have the accountant let you know any tax benefits that come along with all of the contributions that you just provided someone in need.
I want to jump back to something and ask Greg a question here. How much information are you guys getting about your passengers, and does that or can that affect your go/no-go decision?
Yeah, that's a great question. I will say from the very beginning, the entire process is extremely seamless, and this is coming from a military background where things are not so seamless. So I will say it has been fantastic. It does when you go to the mission board to select your missions, but when you do go into that mission, you can see the passenger's name, you can see their diagnosis, you can see kind of some of their limitations, and then really after that is just the weight requirements and what other passengers they may be bringing, whether it be a parent or a sibling or somebody like that to help them along. So beyond that, you really don't know a whole lot about the passenger other than their medical requirement for flying. They do list the passenger's contact information. So typically I will reach out to that passenger touch base with them several days before the mission, introduce myself, and then just say, hey, is there any, do you have any concerns or limitations or anything like that? Most of these folks have traveled before. So I typically ask them, have you traveled before? Mainly because it's kind of new to me, how much experience these folks may have. Luckily, I did kind of get into a repeat mission with somebody down in Springfield who was repeatedly going up to St. Louis. And we kind of, my wife and I don't want to use the term adopted her missions because we got to really know her very well and personally. And it was really awesome getting to know her and her family and her cause and what she's doing and the treatment that she's getting and everything like that. So we really got to know her well and her situation. My kids would even get involved making little travel snacks and stuff for the passengers and putting their names on them and putting them in the back seat for them when they would get on and things like that, just to make them more comfortable. And it was just something we could kind of do as a family to, try to make them enjoy the traveling, because folks are having a hard time. The treatment they're getting is not necessarily a great thing in the situation that they're in. So we just try to lighten it up and be as fun, as personable as possible. So, but to answer your question, we don't have a whole lot of information at the baseline of what what these folks are struggling with. You really either find out when you meet them for the first time or reach out ahead of time and make that communication connection to find out what limitations they may have.
I love hearing that your kids are getting involved and making little goodie bags for them, and that's making it a family affair. That is so cool. So kudos on that to you guys. That's really cool.
Awesome. The very first one we did was, I want to say on the 23rd of December. So right before the holidays. So we put some candy canes and stuff in there and some holiday stuff and made some cookies and put them in there. And obviously nobody wants to be traveling to chemo treatment the 2 days before the holidays. And so anyway, that's kind of what we thought would be something neat to do.
And I think we alluded to this earlier, but your service is specific to 10 states, and those are Midwestern states.
Correct.
And then it sounds like there's other organizations that if you have to essentially do a handoff across the country, you've got the ability to do that.
Yeah. Just like you said, aircarealliance.com, their directory of aviation organizations that are all top notch, above the line nonprofit organizations. We literally collaborate with everyone that we touch. And that's the greatest thing about being here in the Midwest. Is everyone relies on us and we rely on everyone. And so we get to work with all of those organizations, meet all of their needs, and we do the same for them with major medical centers in Chicago and with Mayo.
Sure.
There's a lot of people on both coasts needing to go to those major medical centers. And so they get to reach out to us and ask us for our pilots. And so there's a lot of collaboration going on at all times.
I just signed up, Brendan.
Oh, I love it. That's
good for you. What do you feel has been some of the most rewarding experiences that both of you have had with Angel Flight?
As the executive director, I'm kind of stuck in what some would call minutia. Back at the office, try to keep a major nonprofit going. But I can tell you that the glory of working in our office is it's the passion and the kindness, and every phone call you answer is someone who's appreciative on the end. It's a donor who is just so happy to be a part of making a connection happen between the office and a volunteer pilot. It's the passengers who have been told, well, heck yes, we can help you. And it's the pilots who are lovingly taking on and adopting these families. The day goes so incredibly fast, and so does the night, because we sleep so well, knowing that we get the front row seat, to sit back and watch all of these incredible things happen.
What is the biggest rewards that you've experienced in working with Angel Flight?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. To be honest, it's really just seeing the level of appreciation from the passengers, because they're so overt about it. And to me, it's really not. I love flying and I love sharing like aviation with people, but to them, it's so much more than that, and impacts their lives so much more than that. Which is really eye opening, because to me, it's like I'm gonna go fly my airplane and bring these folks from A to B, and it's awesome because I love flying. I love being in the air, and I like doing a service for people. But I don't think about it on such a high level of impact to them. And they look at it completely differently, a whole different level of appreciation, which I find super humbling. I think it's great because when you go back and think about it afterwards, at the time, it doesn't really seem like, I'm doing such a big thing. But when you really analyze it, to these folks that, don't have the means or don't have the ability to be in a car for a long period of time, or don't have the means to get themselves there for this life-saving treatment. It's awesome. And it's incredible when you kind of think about it on your own internally. It's super rewarding. And I think that's probably the best part.
It's fantastic. I love that answer.
Yeah, it's great.
I just want to say, if I lose you, I apologize. I'm not jumping off early. I think I'm down to like 1% of my old iPhone 8 out here.
Oh, no.
You need a new phone.
I started at 100%, just so you're aware.
No worries.
No worries.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, Greg.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for the invite.
Yeah, we certainly appreciate having you. So I had one other question I was going to ask, and that is, what does the future hold for Angel Flight Central?
It's interesting. Very, very interesting. The insurance, Medicare, Medicaid are putting some barriers at state lines, and not being as welcoming for passengers that are needing to cross several states to get to where they need to be. And so we are at a challenge where we're basically looking for additional needs. What is out there that can be solved with runways? Is it in the military family? Is it working with sex trafficking victims, or at least getting the professionals to the victims to rescue them from where they're at? It's all of these issues that society is dealing with right now. And where can general aviation fit in, and where could we be of service in that? So we're always going to be seeking those opportunities. However, we also want to meet the need when we find it. And with the decline in general aviation pilots, then we always want to make sure that we have the pilots available to meet whatever that need is. So we got to keep the pilot population up, and as well as find those additional needs where we can be of service.
Well, if there's anything that we can do on our end to help get the word out about other organizations that might be of benefit to your services, let us know and we'll see what we can do.
Right. Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, we don't want to step on anybody's feet, but we certainly want to find those communities that need help.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So you wanted to wrap up with a story, it sounds like.
No, I don't have to.
Well, we're curious now. You've laid the groundwork, and
it put us, and it just happened. And so it's one of those things that it's just so strange. We had a mom who called us 15 years ago for her son, just on the border of North Dakota, and needed to get to Mayo. That's her son had 3 open heart surgeries in his first 2 years.
Oh, wow.
So we provided that transportation to her. So fast forward, now he's in high school. And the mom called on a Thursday night and said, we just got a call from Mayo, and they have someone in the hospital currently right now that may not survive, but it would be a perfect opportunity to donate the new heart. And so we have a heart transplant waiting on us if we can get to Rochester. Well, that doesn't meet like what I described to you all. That's kind of on the fringes of what we can assist with. But our flight coordinator at the time said, we've got some great pilots right there in your community. I'll give them a call and give you a call back. And so she started calling, got a hold of a pilot named John. John said, you know what, this is really interesting because I'm supposed to fly all of the breast milk for the Minnesota Milk Bank tomorrow. Let me do weight and balance and see if I can fit him in, and maybe tomorrow morning I can do the breast milk and get this kid to the hospital. So I'll call you back. And so our flight coordinator waited at the office. The office closed. She remained waiting and hadn't heard anything. So at about 6:30 that night, Pam called the mom and said, you know what, I haven't heard back from him, and so I don't think the news is terribly good. And the mom was crying, so upset. And she said, you won't believe this, but the pilot just called me and is coming to pick me up right now.
Wow.
So the pilot went and picked her and the son up, delivered them that night to Mayo so they could get there in time. what was crazy, and what we learned about the next day, is John, his father, who's 94 years old, served on the team at the University of Minnesota that invented the machine that keeps your body alive during heart transplants.
Wow.
And his dad was bedside or in a bed. And so when John got back, he took the thank you note that the mom had written during the flight and took it to his father's bedside and said, look what we just did tonight, Dad, to share with the dad who invented the machine that was going to keep that kid alive during his surgery.
That's amazing.
So it's just, and of course, the next day he went and did all of the breast milk flights in Minnesota for us. I mean, these guys and gals who volunteer their time are just, just beyond angels. They're true heroes.
Well, that is an incredible story. I'm glad that we got you to share that for us.
Yeah, that was, I keep saying that's amazing, but that's literally all the words I have. It is. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's you guys taking your talent that not too many people have, that ability to get up there and fly, and literally changing the world with your talent.
Oh, I love that.
That's what it's all about.
So before we actually close out, is there anything else that you all wanted to cover that we haven't talked about that you want to get out? Or you guys have a very worthy cause, and we want to make sure that if there's any message you wanted to get out, that we've covered it.
No, I'll just tell the three of you that this is, as I said, we don't get the ability to spread the word. And so this is a priceless gift just to be able to speak with you guys. So it's a tremendous gift to us.
Well,
We're glad you're able to come on. I mean, this is
absolutely.
Angel Flight's been kind of like near and dear to me for the longest time, because I don't know about Maddie and Jim, but I love helping people probably as much as those two do. So I'm glad we had you on board.
Thank you.
I honestly, but beyond the very like bare basics, you fly people who need it places. I would hear Angel, especially in Minnesota, I'd hear Angel Flights on the radio, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I didn't know really what you guys did, but I think that's just phenomenal that you guys have such an awesome organization that does so much good.
We'll see what we can do to keep you guys rolling with pilots and get more people the help that they need.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
wonderful. Anything else from Maddie or Trevor?
Thanks for coming aboard, and thanks for sharing your company with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been a really fun episode.
Appreciate you all very, very much. Keep up the great work.
Right back at you.
Yeah, thank you so much. You too.
They had a lot of good things to say. And like, this is a first. I almost cried. Like,
right? With that story?
Yes!
That was, oh, wow.
I almost lost it. And it's like, I know it's like 9:00 on a Tuesday night. Like, I shouldn't be crying here, but that was so
I'm not crying. You're crying.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
that was such a really touching story, though. I'm so glad that he shared that with us.
Oh, me too. Oh my gosh.
Well, I do sincerely thank Greg and Brendan for coming on this episode. That's a really cool organization.
Honestly, though, Angel Flight is a wonderful organization, and they do a lot of good. And it's really incredible to see, something very pure in the world still, because there's a lot of nasty stuff out there, and a lot of people suck, and it's hard to see the good stuff. No, I'm serious. It's sometimes hard to see the good, and while medical issues definitely exist, and that stuff is really, really hard, it's cool to see the organizations like Angel Flight that are made up of purely volunteers. Everybody's a volunteer, and they're sacrificing their time, money, and energy just to get people who wouldn't otherwise be able to get from point A to point B, so they can get potentially life-saving treatment. It's amazing. It really is. I keep saying amazing, but it is. It really is. So I'm standing by it.
You should.
Hey, Jim, who do we have coming on in our next episode?
You guys are going to freak out. This is going to be awesome. I am so excited for the next episode. Our next episode, airshow performer Kyle Franklin of Franklin's Flying Circus recently performed at such events as Air Venture 2022. He's got a really cool routine. And
is he the drunk pilot?
Yeah, that's the dude. We're gonna have a good time. I'm really excited.
That's so awesome. I've always thought it was so cool. Like, I've seen videos and stuff of his performance, and it's nuts. Like I personally would never try any of that. It's so cool.
Dragon wings and stuff like that.
Yeah, like the first initial climb up that it's like at like 25 degrees nose up. It's just like, whee! It's like already, it's like, all right, this is gonna be a trip.
There is a video on the internet that was recently posted from inside the cockpit, and you can see how much work he's really doing.
Oh my gosh.
We'll post that on our social media as a teaser for those of you who don't listen to the podcast, and maybe you'll come and listen to that one and then come back and listen to this one. And then it will all be full circle. All this will make sense.
Yes.
Hopefully.
I like that idea.
You know what's even more fun though?
What, Trevor?
People actually go and buy some of our merch.
That'd be fun for me.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I want to see a bunch of goofy aviators wearing our t-shirts everywhere.
I know, right?
That'd be awesome.
Then when I get home, I'll buy a t-shirt and I'll tack it on the wall for everybody to see it.
You could wear it too. I mean, that is an acceptable.
I'm gonna tack it.
The purpose of a shirt.
I'm gonna tack it on the wall.
Tack it on the wall.
We're recording. It'll be my backdrop.
No one sees us record.
It's just us.
It's just us that sees it. You can wear it though. That's fine. That's a totally acceptable use of a t-shirt.
Think so?
That's like one of the few uses for it. Actually, that's not true.
It's one of the original designs for it, actually. You can wear it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
If you are looking forward to buying some of the merch, head on over to flyingmidwest.com/merch. That'll be posted in the show notes again, so you can find that there. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Flying Midwest Podcast, and until next time,
see ya.
See ya. Zip.
Flight 536, contact Minneapolis Center 132.35 today.
Thanks so much for joining us on the Flying Midwest Podcast. Until next time, podcast service terminated, squawk VFR, frequency change approved. Good day.
Let's go. I told Trevor no extra chatting, but he said no. So, or rather, he said, you can't tell me what to do. Ema. Buddy, if you're listening, I love you.
Is this Total Request Live where you just start giving out shout outs to all these different things?
Hey, it's my sister.
I have absolutely aged myself when I just said that.
The only person I know who has a plane has a Cirrus, and I can't fly it.
Oh, you sure could fly it. You just got to figure out how. Tell you what, call Brian Turner. He will sign you off, and it's going to be fine. I'm trying to, slowly withdraw my need to plug him every episode.
Oh, no, I think it's hilarious. It's such a good running bit.
We'll allow it, Maddie.
That was already.
Oh, it's we now.
Yeah.
When did you become part of the deciding process?
I just let him in. I left the door open, so.
Whoops.
I'm like a wet dog that just got rained on, and Jim accidentally let the door open.
And he's just shaking everywhere.
You said dog, and my dog woke up. Like, dog.
Someone said dog. That's me. I'm a dog.
No, you're fine.
Bye, Felicia.
Oh, I'm so glad I'm still recording.
How did your get I'm laughing at a meme that I saw by accident. I'm trying to think of
that you saw by okay.
Well, okay, I'm on YouTube, right? I'll have to.
So how committed to the podcast experience are you then if you're just watching YouTube while we're talking?
Hey, sorry. My friend is like, hey, come try my beans. And she was standing at my door. So
I'm going to leave.
Beans, the magical fruit. The more you eat, the more you toot. The more you toot, the better you feel. So eat beans at every meal.
That's not going in the podcast. Once again, if you're looking forward to looking for the visuals.
Looking for the visual one-liner, right?
Yeah.
What am I trying to say? Are you done?
Maybe.
Don't rush him. And then you said
no,
a leaf.
It's a decorative bowl, and it's going to sit on my kitchen table.
Did you say a decorative bowl?
No.
You did. And you know how you can be sure? You'll hear it in the bloopers.
I know. I'm excited about my decorative bowl.
Yeah, you can listen back and go, oh yeah, I did say decorative. That's right.
Do you want a good product, Jim?
Do you want to build a snowman? That's all I heard.
I know, same.
Bye, Felicia.